This is your Chargers linebacker, Deion Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LA Football Network. Today's show, of course, is being brought to you by BetOnline, Aura Athletic Greens, Mint Mobile, and Rock Solid Sports Memorabilia. If this is your first time tuning in to the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein, I have felt disconnected, out of the loop, have wanted nothing to do but talk ball over the past week. But it's been a minute since we've been able to do something. Anything particularly interesting happen while I've been gone?
No, nothing.
Nothing at all?
No
Okay.
news. No news. We could just chalk it up to Jake being gone on vacation.
Let's just go ahead and wrap this episode right now. Yeah,
Life stopped until you
done.
returned.
We're done.
All right, well, that was fun. Next, no. Honestly, so glad to have you back, Jake. And what a way to have you back than to be chatting with Deane Leonard of the Los Angeles Chargers, which we're going to be chatting with today. Talk about many things. I will warn you, and I apologize. We did have some technical difficulties out there in Costa Mesa, but we did our best to try and splice things together and make it as good as we could for you. Deane Leonard was great, but again, we had some technical difficulties, but bear with us. Jake, before we get to that, welcome back. So glad to have someone else here sitting with me talking, because otherwise I feel like I'm talking to a void.
Wolkenstein, don't sell yourself short, man. For running solo shows for the better part of a week, you did good, sir. You did good.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you. But I'm glad you're back. Jake, over or under how many times I had to splice this thing together to make it work? I'm going to go over under 6.5.
Like this episode you're talking about?
Yes.
I mean, mind you, by the time of Dan and I recording this part of the segment, he hasn't done any work on it. So this is totally shot in the dark, and I think that was a good line by you. 6.5, you said?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go over. So make sure you text me exactly how many you did when this is all done.
Shout out to Deane
Leonard.
Leonard.
In the past. So whatever the hell the final product is going to be on the other side of this part of the episode, just know a lot of work went into it, I'm assuming.
Talk about a weird, like, Quentin Tarantino way of discussing this episode. We're going back and forth in timelines.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. So what am I going to say? Yeah, okay.
But shout out to Deane Leonard. Way to be a trooper and kind of go along with it. He had some fun with it, too. And Jake, friend of the show, I'm now considering a friend of the show because we now get a cameo from one Derek Ansley.
That was
DC.
nice. It's just for Eloy to just turn the camera and like, look.
I'm not going to answer
right
this one
there.
out loud. That was
That's
great.
But
Okay,
it's like,
so yeah.
oh, yeah, how you doing?
So coming up, we'll be talking with Derek Ansley for a hot second. And then, of course, I want Deane Leonard here on Chargers Unleashed. Jake, before we get to that, let's talk about our friends over at Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile, you can get wireless, unlimited, premium for as little as $15 a month for 3 months. Save yourself some money. Go check out Mint Mobile using the link that we have in the description. We'll be back in 48 seconds to talk about all things Los Angeles Chargers and day one of joint practice with Deane Leonard after this.
If you've ever thought, why in the world is my wireless bill so damn high? Then let me tell you about our friends over at Mint Mobile who we're partnering with for today's video. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network, so they keep costs low by selling directly to you online. They cut out the retail stores and the salespeople. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. So why should you have to pay for more than you have to access the same network? It only takes 15 minutes to switch, and you'll be paying as low as $15 a month for your phone plan. It really is that simple. So use the link in the description below. Try mintmobile.com/Chargers Unleashed to get started. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code.
Well, we are very fortunate today to have a very special guest on the show. Wearing the number 33, all the way from Canada, Ole Miss, and now with your Los Angeles Chargers, Deane Leonard joins us on Chargers Unleashed. Deane, welcome to Chargers Unleashed. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Lots of stuff to talk to you about today. Obviously, we've got to talk about joint practice. We'll talk about the secondary, talk about going up against this explosive offense, upcoming game on Sunday as well. But kind of start off with joint practice. Literally just got out the field. First one in the books, going up against some stiff competition with the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
What was today like? How was it out there? What are some of your key takeaways from today's first joint scrimmage?
I thought it was really good. I think just the entire team's energy just right out of the gate was right where it should be at. With the special teams drills, everyone was cheering each other on, and we were just getting busy. So I think it was a really good day. And we'll go back and watch the film and clean up the technique and all that. But I think from an energy perspective and how hard we play, I think we did a really good job.
So far for you, what would you say was the highlight play, either on offense or defense?
The highlight play. I can't speak for the offense or on the other field. I heard Keelan had a day out there. Highlight for defense, DJ had a big pick. I thought that was probably the highlight of it. Got everyone excited.
And Deane, last year we saw you take on a big role, obviously, with special teams. And from what we've seen from you this year, you've been making a bunch of plays on defense as well. Obviously, you had your big day where you had 5 pass breakups in one practice. What type of role are you expecting this year on defense? And how do you feel like the skill set complements the rest of the secondary between you, Mike, Asante, JC, and Ja?
Really, my role is. So we got a DA. Hold on. What's that? We got DA in the background right here.
Hey.
I'm not gonna listen. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna listen. I'm not gonna let him listen to this question. My role is to be able to step up whenever my name is called, and obviously get things done on special teams to allow us to have the best chance to win every game. But if something happens and my name gets called, I'll be prepared to step in and the defense not to fall back a step, just keep on moving. So making plays on defense is important, just so I can gain that trust from the coaching staff that when it comes time for that, then they're comfortable with putting me in there and trust I can perform.
I love it. Now, you guys in the secondary are going up against some studs on these Chargers. You got Keenan, Mike, Justin, Quentin, Josh, all the tight ends. Talk to us about kind of what that challenge brings to you guys as a defense.
Big guys, they can move. I think there's a lot getting out there with them every day, and then you go play another offense, things kind of slow down. You're more comfortable with your technique because you go against so much talent all the time. And, obviously Justin throwing the ball's going to be on the dot every time. It's almost like when you go play another offense, things kind of slow down. You could really just focus on yourself rather than jumping everywhere. So I think it's just, iron sharpens iron. They just make sure you're on top of your game all the time.
Jake and I, we've been out of camp multiple times, and we've seen the impression you've left on your teammates, all the PBUs and defensive plays you've been racking up. Seeing you out there flexing a little bit, which you love to see. There was one day we talked about the PBUs that you just went off. Things seem to be clicking for you now in year 2, huh?
Yeah. I think this is a big jump in lifestyle-wise from year 1 to year 2. Just being more comfortable, you understand the system better. All of that, just all ties together. So when you get on the field, you just focus on what you need to do and you can perform.
And speaking of year 2, Deane, obviously you no longer under that rookie label. Now you're getting a full offseason this year. Cam seems to be ratcheted up, especially with the message between Kellen Moore with Coach Ansley in terms of explosive plays, focus, attention to fundamentals. To you, what are some of the larger differences that you see in this year's camp as opposed to the mindset of last year's camp?
I can, from a defensive perspective, we're focusing a lot on tackling. That's the biggest thing is, you could fix scheme and all that, but at the end of the day, we need to get the ball on the ground. We need to tackle. I think that's the biggest emphasis that's changed this year. Just having that aggressive mindset when you step on the field. And that from a corner, it's also controlling the line of scrimmage, being physical in that way. And I think that's helped the secondary out too.
Okay, now you've played a big role on special teams. We got to talk special teams. Special teams unit as a whole really kind of seems to be becoming very quickly like one of the strengths of this team, both from a returning, coverage, kicks, you name it. What would you attribute like that success to? Like, what are some of the tactical or tangible things that special teams coach Ryan Ficken has instilled, or like you guys out there? Like, what are the things that have kind of brought this turnaround?
I think they allow us to play free. They bring us solid schemes. They allow us to play free and to be ourselves. And, special teams, a lot of it is just want to as well. I think we just found the right group of guys. We've come together and we all want to make plays. We all want to affect the game. I think that's the biggest part when it comes to special teams, just having the right characters out there that want to get the job done.
Now, between last year and this year, the defensive coaching staff has shifted a little bit, but some familiar faces in different places. Obviously, with DA now going from secondary coach to defensive coordinator, you still have Tom Donatel there now manning the secondary responsibilities. What would you say has been like the biggest difference of the messages of the goals that both of them have sent the secondary group this year, as opposed to where their positions were last year and now where they're at this year, and kind of how that's made you guys grow as a unit?
Then again, staff changes. I think it's really, when you look at the unit and how close we are together, I think we're all more comfortable around each other. It really starts in the locker room. I feel like the culture in the locker room is where it's supposed to be at right now. I feel like that's the biggest difference right now.
We talked about Jazir Taylor. J.C. Jackson seems to be getting close to returning. Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Davis. Like, how would you compare and contrast like your game to theirs? And like, how do you guys all complement each other? Like, what do each of you guys bring, would you say?
What we all bring, for me, what they bring to me is I get to watch these vets do what they do. I get to watch not just on the field, but off the field, how they conduct themselves, like in terms of watching film, their body work. And we're on the field just feeding off each other's energy. And I love watching Mike, Zahn, and JC just on the line, just learning from them. And yeah, I think from my perspective, that's the biggest thing for me.
Now, I know you kind of got a preview of it already during joint practices, but upcoming preseason game number 2 with the Saints this weekend in front of the home crowd. Lots of things left to be proven for you personally and as a defense. What are some of your goals on Sunday?
We're going on Sunday, make plays on the ball, find the ball in the air is always number one. And, just play loose and fast. I feel like that was the biggest thing last week is we had fun out there and we played harder than them. That was the biggest difference. So just go out there and hang out.
I love it. Deane Leonard, your Los Angeles Chargers cornerback wearing the 3-3. Deane, it's been so much fun. Outside of football, you're off the hot seat on the football stuff. Outside of football, what do you like to do on the side? What do you fill your free time with? Like, who is Deane Leonard?
Big golfer. That's my newest obsession. It's so much so, I played so much over the off season. I have a little net in my living room. So like even during camp, I'll get home. No, I just squeeze a couple of swings in the end of the day. So always golfing. That's why I am outside of it.
Do you think you're going to catch up to Justin? Like, are you going to try to get Justin in there with you so that way, like, maybe he'll throw some interceptions to you during training camp? Like, how's that look?
Yeah, he might have to. I haven't seen his golf game, but no, I'm coming for them.
I love it. Deane Leonard, ladies and gentlemen. Deane, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you kind of tackling the technical difficulties with us and staying true all the way through. Best of luck out there on Sunday, this upcoming game, as well as this season. Looking forward to watching you ball out. Did we lose you, Deane? Are you still there? We're in uncharted territory here. Well, that was our discussion with Deane Leonard, cornerback for your Los Angeles Chargers. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties. We had some delays there, audio and video, but did our best. We pushed through. Jake, thoughts on our chat with Deane Leonard? Thoughts on overall his impression of this camp so far?
I mean, it's good, man. Him along with the same group as Jazir Taylor, as far as seeing 2 second-year cornerbacks coming into this thing. And then, as we've talked about so many times on this show, Dan, the competitiveness, the response, as I mentioned in the interview with Deane, he had a day, a couple of weeks ago, where he had 5 pass breakups in one practice. And that was a standout performance by him. And he almost had an interception in the Rams game this past week, just went right through his hands. He unfortunately just couldn't come down with it. When you start to get some of this depth growing in your secondary group, and as we know, as of the biggest impact that he has had thus far is his contributions on special teams, both him and Jazir Taylor. But you're seeing this next step of their NFL careers now kind of evolving, and Brandon Staley not just wanting to be top heavy with his secondary group and say like this is where the focus is. No, we're going to basically go as far as we can to develop all of this young talent. And at some point or another, that the Chargers are going to have to rely on Deane Leonard somewhere in some type of fashion. And whether that's just in a rotation of whatever the defense might be having, God help us if it relates to injuries in terms of one of those type of situations. But one way or another, whether it's on special teams and defense, it's nice to see this second-year evolution of Deane Leonard coming in, and from what we've already seen early on in training camp, and you know that this is just going to continue with him throughout the season. So I think the response from having Derek Ensley now in the defensive coordinator position, pair that with what Brandon Staley is going with. And again, Tom Donatella, like I've said it a million times, this entire defensive coaching staff is just littered with guys that have had current or previous experience coaching in the secondary. So you could tell a lot where that focus is going to be. And I think that there's been a lot of emphasis put on it, and you're seeing the results in practice and in the first and in the first preseason game as well.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, it's not just the defense that he's done well with, but like that special teams unit as a whole has been a rock. And shout out to Ryan Ficken, shout out to everyone on that role, on that unit, kicking, recovering, coverage, you name it, all balling. Deane Leonard has been one of the bright spots of training camp so far. Fun conversation. This was a lot of fun, and look forward to joint practice number 2 against the Saints, as well as preseason game number 1, preseason game number 2, which we will be getting into previewing here in a bit. But that's going to do it for this episode of Chargers Unleashed. Special guest Deane Leonard, shout out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.